Hi, how are you? I'm Mr. Muso. Today we want to talk about European history. We want to talk about the Weimar Republic. The Weimar Republic, which eventually ushered the rise of Adolf Hitler. Make sure your pen, make sure your notebook is close to you. Here is our question. How far did the economic problems of the Weimar Republic help Hitler rise to power by 1933? I'll take that again. How far did the economic problems of the Weimar Republic help Hitler's rise to power by 1933? So we are saying that the economical problems of the Weimar Republic led Hitler to rise to power. Which economical problems are we talking about? We are talking about unemployment. There was a high rate of unemployment in Germany. So many youths were not employed. Explain why uprisings were the order of the day. Explain why revolts were the order of the day. Why? It was because so many youths were unemployed. So that on its own led Hitler to rise to power. He had to promise the people that when I come to power, I'm going to revive the economy. I'm going to absorb these youths in public works, and the problem of unemployment is going to be a thing of the past. So the problem of unemployment led Hitler to rise to power. You move on, you also talk about the issue of the reparations. Germany was forced to pay the reparations of 6.5 or 6.6 in terms in a form of timber, cattle, dyestuffs, iron, etc. The money that Germany was meant to pay was too much. That led to inflation. It led to price of goods skyrocketing in Germany. So that led people to be frustrated by the Weimar Republic because it accepted to pay the reparations. It associated itself with the Versailles settlement, which was unpopular. Remember, Germany was not represented on the Versailles settlement. So by accepting the Versailles settlement, by accepting to pay the reparations, it led the Weimar Republic to be unpopular, and it created economical problems in Germany. So Hitler had to capitalize, he had to use this to his advantage. When I come to power, I'm going to stop paying the reparations. I'm going to do away with the diktat, with the Versailles settlement. So that explained why Hitler came to power. He managed to get a lot of support from the people. Why? It is because the people hated the Versailles settlement, which they regarded as a diktat. It was dictated to them by the statesmen on the Versailles settlement of 1919. You move on, you also talk about the closure of industries, the closure of factories, also led the Weimar Republic to be unpopular. We see that productivity was so it was so low in the country. Very few productivity activities were done in Germany. So many industries, they were affected by the war, they were bombarded by the war, they were closed by the war. So we see that there was little production that was done in the country. So Hitler now had to promise the people that when I was going to come to power, industries are going to thrive, industries are going to reopen. So it was because of that now that Hitler had to capitalize, and as a result of that now, Hitler was able to come to power because of these economical problems that were being faced by the people in Germany. You talk about trade. Trade had declined because there was low productivity. Nothing much was being produced in industries and factories. So trade was also being affected. The German mark was useless. It was valueless. It was worthless because trade was not conducted on a large scale. There was no industrial growth. So Hitler had to capitalize on this and to inform people that when I'm going to come to power, I'm going to revamp the economy. Trade is going to be revamped. So we see him getting a lot of support from the youngsters, the business people, and also the ordinary people. They now start to have confidence in Hitler, and it explains why in 1933 Hitler was in a position of coming to power. But it was not only the economical problems that led Hitler to come to power. There were also social problems and political problems that were faced by the Weimar Republic that led Hitler to come to power. Which were these political problems? You talk about the issue of uprisings that were taking place. You talk about the issue of the weak coalition government. This Weimar Republic, it was a weak coalition government. It was unpopular. Hitler had also to capitalize on that, and he had to rise to power. He had to assure the people that uprisings were going to be a thing of the past, and he was going to stop the disorders that were taking place in the country. So political problems led Hitler to come to power. He also promised to increase the franchise so that people were going to be in a position of voting. He also promised to bring a fair system of justice. So people start to have confidence in Hitler, and it explains why he came to power. Socially, you talk about the issue of education. He promised to build schools, to improve the education, to improve the literacy level, and that on its own now, it led Hitler again to come to power. Why? It was because of the promises. It was because of the problems that the Weimar Republic was facing, and it explains why he was in a position of coming to power in 1933. You move on, you also talk about the church. So many people in Germany were Catholics, and he knew that if good relations were established with the Catholics, he was going to get a lot of support from the people. The Weimar Republic could not establish good relations with the church, and Hitler now promised to re-establish these good relations, and people started to have confidence in him, and it led him to come to power. Then you talk about the Mein Kampf, the book that he wrote while he was in prison. He was outlining what he was going to do when he came to power in Germany. So that book, it was read by so many people. The thoughts, the ideas that were expressed in the Mein Kampf, they were adopted, they were accepted by so many people, and eventually Hitler was in a position of coming to power. Why? It was because of his writings, the Mein Kampf, and it explains why he came to power, why he rose to power. Then you talk also about tearing of the Versailles settlement. He promised to tear, he promised to do away with the Versailles settlement. That led him to get support because people did not want to hear anything about the Versailles settlement. Then you talk about him being a good speaker. He was a good orator. He could speak, he could convince the people. That again led him to come to power in 1933. So the weaknesses, the economical weaknesses of the Weimar Republic led Hitler to come to power. But they were not only economic weaknesses of the Weimar Republic that led Hitler to come to power. There were also political and also social weaknesses that led him to come to power. So let's go back to our question. How far did the economic problems of the Weimar Republic help Hitler's rise to power by 1933? So we see that Hitler was able to rise because of these problems, and eventually in 1933 he was invited by Gustav Stresemann to become the new leader of Germany. That is what we have on this question. Thank you. I'm Mr. Muso.